Hello traders. The last month, September 2025, was not easy. We had 8 consecutive negative closes and it has come to an end thanks to the bounce back we saw in the first 2 trading sessions of this current month. But the $1,000,000 question is this just a bounce back, or we're going to see some further upsides? It's not going to be easy, but as we take a look at each and every sectoral chart alongside the Nifty and the broader markets, we will get some sense. And I have a good news for you, which I will discuss during our end of the week analysis in this video. So join me. Let's together figure out what's happening with the Indian equity markets. So here I am, my usual template. Well, actually, it's not my usual template. I've added one more extra time frame. That's the 125-minute time frame on my right. And I've kind of broken it into 4 different time frames. Monthly on the top left-hand side, weekly bottom left-hand side. Central chart, I prefer always the daily time frame, and 125-minute time frame to keep an eye on the shortest, time frame, which I would like to figure out and analyze. I just spoke about 8 consecutive negative closes. And after that, the 1st of October, followed by the 3rd of October, 2nd was a national holiday, we have a bounce back. The Fib 11s did manage to hold a bit, isn't it? But more about that little later. On my charts, I'm using our conventional next price indicator and the next RSI. It gets the job done with just these 2 indicators with our proprietary state of flow. Do let me know whether these end of the week videos do add any value to your decision making over the next week or not. If you do, feel that there's any kind of a feedback or suggestion for me, feel free to share. And yeah, someone told me that if you ask your viewers to subscribe, they do subscribe. But if you don't, they don't. I don't completely buy that, but who knows? If you like my stuff, I'm pretty certain you will subscribe and comment. Now, back to the real stuff, the real work. I'll start with the monthly time frame for the Nifty. This was September. In terms of Heiken-Ashi language, this is sheer contraction, or should I say consolidation. Contraction was not the right word because it did make a higher high, but it could not sustain. It's a very small body on the Heiken with a little bit of, not a little bit, but quite a bit of choppiness. This choppiness we experienced with this sharp rally and an equally sharp sell-off recently. So end of the month, September 2025, the structure is still kind of bullish. It's not bearish. It's not strongly bullish. It's kind of consolidating. Come down to the weekly time frame, and we see that the Heiken-Ashi has reversed on the downside. It was holding well. It did consolidate a week earlier, but now with this week's close, today we are on the 3rd of October 2025, things are slowing down. So if I combine the monthly and the weekly, it's kind of an erstwhile bullish chart, which is slowing down. It's not a bearish chart. Neither of them are bearish completely. Talking about complete bearish charts, that's when we come to the daily time frame and we find predominantly negative readings. The trend indicator, the momentum, the state of flow, everything is bearish. It did manage to get kind of a support close to that 24,600. I was talking about this level, which is the fib combination which I use, followed by a short-term bounce back. Now, the good thing about the bounce back is in terms of Heiken-Ashi language, I have a solid green Heiken, which is a sign of strength. Now, it's not a sign of strength or a sign of a bullish market. It's a sign of strength for the bounce back. The bounce back is extending. So, daily chart is improving, weekly chart is deteriorating, monthly chart is trying to hold on to itself. It's not going to be easy. It's probably going to stay volatile, it's going to stay choppy. And from the Nifty per se, probably we are not going to figure out any significant direction and sense. I think the month of October is going to stay very stock specific, theme specific. And those who can identify the theme, of course, time their entry and exit both, will be able to make sense out of trading. Or else, it's not going to be easy. So Nifty does not give us enough clarity. When will we get that enough clarity? Of course, September's range plays a role from the monthly time frame. And from the weekly time frame, of course, if we break below these lows, these short-term lows which we found close to 24,600 Nifty spot, if they are broken, then yeah, that's a negative sentiment and things can turn further down. But as of now, let's consider Nifty to be, let's say, very, very neutral. And let's try and focus on some various other sectors. And if you can find any theme that is worth a trade next week. With this in mind, if we take a look at the broader markets, the NX 500 is like a replica of what we saw on the Nifty. CNX mid cap is kind of a replica of what we saw on the Nifty. And the small cap will also give us similar kind of a view. So the broader markets and the Nifty are playing out very, very similar. Nothing significantly different there. Let's come to the sectors. We had flagged these sectors last week, and most of them played out well. I also have the RRG graph open, and we will take a look at relative strength too. If I go back to the Nifty spot chart, and I take a look at the weekly chart, since this bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it has been 8 weeks of significant choppiness, disappointment, especially when we had this breakout. So let's try and figure out relative strength with keeping 8 weeks back of our mind. Is that all right? Let's now bring ourselves to strike analytics, relative rotational graphs. I will select the 15 indices, which is there in the Nifty 50. Benchmark, let's change it to Nifty 500. Time frame, increase it to the weekly. And the counts, we just discussed, let's figure out from an 8 weeks perspective. With this in mind, let's sort in terms of percentage change. And we can see some significant gains coming in from Nifty Metal, Nifty Auto. In fact, all the names in the leading quadrant, they have been big gainers. Starting off with Nifty Metal. Fantastic looking RRG graph. Left to right gains, down to up gains. Both the momentum as well as the relative strength is gaining. Metals should be in your positive list. Nifty Auto has the maximum relative strength, significantly away from the axis. This is where the momentum starts to drop. This is where Nifty Auto, though it's a very strong sector, will show signs of slowdown. Strategy should be bullish, but not breakout, ideally pull back. With this in mind, let's take a look at the Nifty Metal as well as the Nifty Auto from a charts point of view. Now, CNX Auto, we had marked it green. It's a strong monthly, decently strong weekly, which is showing signs of slowdown. And you can see the short-term correction on the daily time frame and then bouncing back. Majorly, we will see stocks under the CNX Auto cooling off. All right. And let them cool off, let them get short-term oversold, and then look to trade the short-term bounce back. But I would suggest keep trades short-term in nature within the auto pack, because it's run up quite a bit. The relative strength seems to be stretched. What about the metal index? CNX metal, last week also we flagged it green. Good looking monthly time frame, very good looking weekly. Daily picked up momentum for the last couple of trading sessions. Do not chase. Do not chase, do not go for the breakout, wait for a pullback and look to trade. Now, in the beginning of this video, I did tell you that I'm going to share a good news with you. And the good news with you is the CNX Metal Index with today's move has hit a new all-time high. Let me cross-check that. Yes, whatever data I have here, very much an all-time high. Last week, if you remember, it was CNX Auto which hit an all-time high. Now we are in a market environment where now they are not the biggest index heavyweight, auto and metals both, but they are important sectors. Now we are in a market environment where every week a new sectoral chart is hitting an all-time high. And I question myself, is this a bear market? Definitely no. In a bear market, such sectors do not hit an all-time high. So what I figure out from the current and the recent market price behavior is this themes, those sectors, relative strength is playing out. And so for us to make any alpha returns, we have to focus, we have to identify the theme at the right time. We cannot be late either. The markets have given enough opportunity on the long side. And I think the markets have also given enough opportunities as well as on the downside. So it's the trader who can identify these better at a much significantly better timing also will gain. Or else it's going to be tough. If we are late behind the curve, will be tough. So metals positive. Moving back to our RRG graphs, there are two more, PSU Bank as well as consumer durables. Now PSU Bank is this small little worm trying to go back to the leading quadrant. The angle is not that bad and it's positive. Consumer durables, on the other hand, has lost a bit of momentum of relative strength. Okay, in terms of RRG graph, let's corroborate. Let's compare that with the actual price chart. The PSU Bank last week we had marked green. So no surprise, good looking monthly, very good looking weekly, almost close to an all-time high. I think if it goes the way it is going, next week it will hit an all-time high. It's stretched. I would say PSU Bank and metals both are stretched. Do not chase breakouts. Look for some meaningful corrections and then go for trades. Keep them bullish, but do not trade the breakout. And then we have the consumer durables. Now, consumer durables is a different story. Consumer durables, if I take a look at the monthly chart, it's slowing down. If I take a look at the weekly chart, it has now turned seriously negative. So the loss of relative strength momentum, which the RRG graph was showing us, is essentially because of this. Daily chart, exceptionally weak and just giving a bounce back. This is not a bullish chart. This is a bearish price action. So if I combine both RRG as well as the price action, I should flag it off. I should not flag it off. I should leave it. But I give more importance to price. And so I'm going to flag it off negative, looking for some short opportunities once it bounces back. Because after a fall like this, it just doesn't make sense to trade the breakdown. You should always look to trade the pullback. That's our green quadrant, the leading quadrant. Let's come to the yellow one, the weakening. In the weakening, we have the small cap and the mid cap. Now, these are two classic RRG behavior, which slips from the leading, comes down to the weakening in a clockwise manner. As the name suggests, these two sectors are weakening. We did take a look at the small cap and the mid cap, and they were kind of replica of what Nifty looked like. And the view is also the same, neutral. So we're not going to flag. We do not trade kind of the mid cap, small cap per se. So I'm going to stay neutral on both the mid cap and the small cap indices. Now we come to the lagging, and this is where we still have the longest list of sectors. Over here, we have private bank, bank Nifty, and the financial services. Look where the PSU Bank lies, right up there with an 8% gain in the 8 weeks And then you have Nifty, Bank Nifty, 0.5%, financial services less than 0.5%, and the private bank just 1.89, some kind of a 2%. Let's figure out what's happening in this entire pack. Bank Nifty first. Not a good looking RRG graph. Private bank, not a very good looking RRG graph. Picking up a bit of momentum, but not good. And then Nifty financials, also not a very good looking one. They are in the lagging quadrant. They do not have relative strength, but they are showing a bit of promise in terms of momentum. With this in mind, can we take a look at the Bank Nifty? Remember last week, we did not flag Bank Nifty. We did not flag, I think, private banks also. And what about finance? We did not flag. We did not flag it because it was giving us contradictory readings when we took a look at the weekly and the daily. There was not much clarity. So Bank Nifty first. Monthly, because September did come to an end this week. So my signs of slowdown at previous monthly highs, so polarity can play out. Come to the weekly. So monthly view is predominantly positive. Weekly, flat, 2 positive, 2 negative, because it's gone range bound. It needs a breakout, breakdown, whatever. Come to the daily. It's bounced back pretty well. The private banks, couple of them, like an Axis Bank, has done exceptionally well. So it's back to the close to the previous high. We would like to get the breakout. The good thing about this week's price behavior is it has closed at the highest point of the week. So getting a breakout is pretty easy. It's nearby, it's close by. Relative strength is not there. So I do not have any bullish markers support from the RRG graph. The only bullishness that I can extract from my charts is a combination of the weekly as well as the improvement from the daily. Now, any kind of a pullback from the daily time frame, if the structure remains positive, if the EMAs remains positive, can give us a breakout. Now, this is where your HDFC Bank and your ICICI Bank has to play a role because your PSU banks will get tired. So I'm going to mark it green. I hope there was something like a lime or something which is greenish on the verge of bullishness, but nevertheless, I'm going to mark it green. Private banks more or less mirrors because private bank enjoys a lot of weightage. And so I'm going to mark green for the private bank also. Let's take a look at what's happening on CNX Finance. Similar kind of a behavior. And let's mark it green as well. PSU Banks anyways is bullish. Good to see the banks and the private bank gaining a bit of momentum. If it does not give us a repeat telecast of what it did recently, and if it just manages to hold on to the gains, we might get good support from this pack for the Nifty. Remember, the banks enjoy a lot of weightage. So this is an important shift from a neutral to a green flag. The others in the lagging quadrant are energy. Okay types, it's just picking up a little bit of momentum. Public sector enterprise is also picking up. And you have Realty. Let's start with Realty. Again, a classic weakening RRG graph. Completely stay away. This is seriously weakening. Realty, we did not flag anything. Monthly, not so good. Weekly, right close to those levels. And you can see the daily time frame has broken down below these levels and just hovering there. Last week, we did not flag it because last week, it had created a big outside bar right close to the supports. It was on the verge of the breakdown. And it was very difficult because after a positive hike in a huge outside bar, the kind of rally followed by the kind of correction, it's better to just, step back. What about after this week's close? We have a negative Heiken. Anyways, things went negative and Heiken also turns negative. Monthly chart is negative. Daily chart is also predominantly negative. We should mark it negative. Though it's at levels from where in the past it had bounced back once and little bit twice and thrice. So these areas will provide some support. We may get a bounce back, but we can't expect a trend reversal right now. So let's mark it red. We also had the public sector enterprise in the lagging quadrant, in the weakening quadrant. Now the charts, the monthly charts are okay, it's improving. The weekly charts are definitely good, and the daily charts have picked up momentum. Public sector enterprise across bank and non-banking sectors, they have improved. Not all of them, left, right, center, but most of them, they have improved. So I do not completely buy with the RRG graphs, public sector enterprise be in the lagging quadrant. We had marked it green last week, and I will continue to hold on to it being the green. Then we have the CNX energy. Energy, if you take a look at the monthly, okay, it is consolidating the recent short-term correction. Weekly is really good. I actually like the weekly close for the CNX energy. And if I bring this to the daily, it's showing signs of improvement. At least the momentum is trying to improve. Last week, we had marked it green because of the weekly improvement on the Heiken. This week, it is consolidating, and I will continue to hold on to a green flag for the CNX energy. Energy, PSE, private banks, financial services, and realty. We've covered them, which leaves us to the last quadrant, which is the improving quadrant. Now, this is where lies FMCG, pharma, and IT. IT does not have any relative strength, but it is showing some signs of a little bit of improvement. IT is an important sector. Last week, we had marked it red, and of course, all the markers were red. After this week's close, it's still very much negative on the weekly. It's very much oversold on the daily. We can expect a short-term bounce back. The extent of selling that has happened after such a selling bounce back is obvious. But will I be wanting to buy into that bounce back? No, I'm not interested. So I'll still consider it to be negative, CNX IT. Then it's FMCG and Pharma. FMCG Pharma, we did not flag anything last week. Monthly created an outside bar. This is CNX FMCG. September was an outside bar. Weekly has started to deteriorate clearly, and daily, of course, is negative and bouncing back. CNX FMCG goes negative. Pharma. Pharma slowed down kind of September. Weekly has gone just negative this week with a negative Heiken on the weekly time frame. And the daily is state of flow negative and just bouncing back. So pharma also have to go in the like NED. Negative red becomes NED. Anyway, sorry for that. In the negative category. Okay? So that's our flags for all the 15 sectors that makes up the Nifty 50. But we also track few more. Capital markets. We had marked it negative. Weekly negative. Daily bouncing back. Yep, negative. Defense, we've marked it green, positive. Weekly improves, consolidation continues, picks up today, close at the highest point of the day, close at the highest point of the week. We continue positive flag. Digital is IT heavy, and it continues to, in fact, weekly chart has gone negative, sharp sell-off, trying to pull back, stay negative. And then tourism, we had marked it negative. Weekly has gone bad. Daily, of course, sell-off, bouncing back. Wait for a deeper bounce back. Then look for short trades. If you're into derivatives, let's keep it red. So it looks like a divided sectoral behavior amongst the green flags and the red flags. Let's understand something. Amongst the green flags, there are few which had a great rally. That's your CNX metal. That's your CNX auto. And they're likely to get tired. You can add some bit of PSU Banks also. Bank Nifty, private banks, and finance, they have shown potential. So they can pick it up from what the PSU did from here on next week. If that happens, wonderful. Energy is showing potential. Public sector enterprises without the banking is showing potential. And defense is showing potential. Now, these green flags, these positive sectors have shown strength. Few of them are stretched. Don't chase them. Those who are showing potential, focus more on them. Coming to the ones which are negative, out of which few are deeply oversold and really tired in terms of selling, those your consumer durables, your IT, your digital, etc. These charts do bounce back. The question is, do you want to participate in that bounce back or not? If I see a private sector bank giving me an upside move and an IT giving me an upside move, what kind of a trader am I? Do I like to go for a beaten down IT, or do I want to go with a chart which is showing potential? The choice is yours. There's no right decision. Do not try to be right and wrong. Beaten down stocks bounce back, strong stocks do not rally, and vice versa. So make your choice accordingly. If you ask me, I would always suggest to stick to a bit of relative strength. Stocks which have shown us strength in the face of adversity when things have come down, I would like to bet in that particular sector and the constituents of that sector. Right? So with that, I end this particular end of the week analysis. As I suggested, please do share your thoughts in the comment section. And yeah, if you like my work, support my work by subscribing. Thank you. Goodbye. Enjoy your weekend. And yes, prepare well for next week's trade. Thank you.